Hey guys, today I have a little bit of bad news for you. You can write all of the content that you want for your SEO and still lose out on Google to someone with worse copy than you. Because here's the thing, SEO is not just about what lives on your website. It is also about who on the internet is pointing back to you, vouching for you, and helping Google to decide whether or not you actually matter. In this episode, Adam from Tork Media and I get into the part of SEO that most business owners, myself included, overlook. That is off-page SEO. We break down backlinks and what they actually are, why they matter so much, how they impact authority, and what it looks like to build them without wasting time and money. If you have been treating SEO like a content-only game, this conversation will show you exactly what you have been missing. Now let's dive in. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Adam, I introduced a little of the professional side of you, but in a sentence or two, who are you as a human? What's bringing you joy right now?
What brings me joy is being a dad. I've got 2 kids. I've been married for 20 years. So my beautiful wife is the main person who gets all the credit for having those 2 kids, of course. But
okay.
I'm wearing my sweatshirt that I get to wear when I go do coaching for track and field. Both my kids do track and field, and I love the ability I have to spend time with them doing that. And it's all about family for me. Whatever I can do to build my family and spend time with them, I'm going to prioritize that.
Okay. Are they middle school or is it high school track and field?
It's high school.
Okay. Varsity or JV?
Well, thankfully, it's all varsity for track and field because there is actually no tryouts. When you go and participate in track, you just do your best, and everybody is just kind of doing whatever they can, no matter what age they are, no matter what the grade, no matter how far they run or how high they jump. You just do what you can do best, and that's another thing I love about the opportunity, because a lot of organized sports for kids as young as like 8 years old, it's extremely competitive, and it doesn't give a lot of kids, a great opportunity to participate in sports without a lot of pressure at the very front. So track and field, very low pressure, very good environment for kids who might be struggling with mental health issues or whatever the case may be. It's good all around.
Okay. I love that. So it sounds like the stress level that you see from football, basketball, soccer, baseball just isn't there necessarily.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And the reason is because even though it's called a track team, a lot of the sports are very individual. Like you run your own best time and your teammates also run. They jump, they throw, and you're all doing it individually, but you each score points for the team based on how well you do. And so that's the difference between like a football team, let's say, because they all have to actually work together to score a point. So there's a lot of pressure just in the way that the game is played itself.
Okay, cool. I love it. I do not run if I can help it. So impressed that you handle all that. So today we are talking all things search engine optimization, which is something I've been deep diving a lot into lately. And we've talked a lot about on-page SEO and AI search and SEO associated with AI and all the different LLM models. But what we don't talk about so much is everything that happens off of your primary website. So what we refer to as off-page SEO. Can you give us some sort of field of understanding of on-page versus off-page, and like what's the difference? Why do both matter?
Yeah, sure. I would say if I were to quantify how much impact off-page has compared to on-page, I think it's about 50-50.
Okay.
And so it's incredibly important as far as topics go. And to describe it, I would say off-page SEO is mostly a function of getting a bunch of other people to say that they vote for your website, that it's legitimate and that it's useful. Now, the mechanics around doing that, it can be quite complicated and really time-consuming and expensive, unless you know some of the tactics that I happen to know, and which I'm 100% going to tell everybody. It's no secret, but I just spent the last 20 years focusing on that as a business.
So one of the things that I hear when it comes to SEO, and I hear this more from PR agencies, is that, oh, you need PR because it's also going to help with your search engine optimization because it's backlinks. So how do you differentiate the PR sort of backlinks and like PR versus we're going to go and buy backlinks? But first, hold on, rewind. For those of us who aren't in the SEO world, can you explain what a backlink is?
Yeah, it's one of those blue highlighted little pieces of text that you might read in an article or a blog post on the internet that when you click on it, it takes you to a different site on the internet.
So with that, how do you differentiate the PR I'm getting featured in Forbes or XYZ magazine compared to I'm buying backlinks from not less reputable, but less well-known sites?
Yeah. People that are in the PR world, and digital PR is a very fast up and coming section of traditional communications and PR, which I have a degree in journalism. So, and I worked at a PR agency back in the good old days. So I have a pretty deep understanding of how PR mechanics work. And it's a function of spending a lot of time thinking about journalists and what they care to write about. And that's what you spend most of your time doing, is thinking about what they care about, pitching them topics that they might want to write about, and hopefully they write about your client. It's never a guarantee, and the amount of time and effort you put into it doesn't always pay off. But when it does, it's well worth it, because those are very valuable. And even if the article that you get mentioned in, even if it doesn't link to your website, there's still a high amount of value in having your brand name mentioned inside of a authoritative, relevant magazine or publication like Forbes. But although that isn't a great example, because they've sold Forbes, they sell links in those articles too. So that's a whole can of worms that we don't need to get into. But there are plenty of reputable, authoritative online magazines that you have to pitch to be able to get written up about. And PR agencies really are good at doing that. That's what they specialize in. Got a lot of friends who do that. Now, on the flip side, let's say you want a guaranteed link in a relevant, authoritative website. That's when you would turn to buying a backlink. And those can be just as valuable. But again, it's just a function of time and expense, really. If you've got a big enough budget, you can go out and buy some really high quality, authoritative backlinks in very reputable sites, but it's going to cost you thousands of dollars per link. And there's just thousands of those opportunities that exist. There are marketplaces that exist that allow you to just set your budget, and you get a link on a pretty high authority site, and you can just rinse and repeat that, and you will get results going that route. You will not get penalized. And I can say that from living in that world for the last 15 years. It's terrible if someone does get penalized, but that's the exception rather than the rule when you're buying backlinks.
So with backlinks and with knowing how Google works, from my understanding, which is relatively limited, one of the factors that helps determine if your website is going to show on Google for XYZ keyword is domain authority rather than topical content. So is backlinks primarily helping with your domain authority?
That's certainly one of the important things you want to look at.
Okay.
But you can get a link from a site that has no domain authority. And by the way, domain authority is a metric that was not invented by Google. So
interesting.
You
Okay.
could have a very high domain authority and not show up anywhere in Google because they're not the ones that made up that metric. Moz.com came up with domain authority.
Okay.
But they built the metric around their understanding of Google's algorithm, and they understand it really, really well.
Okay.
And so the domain authority metric is a guess, really, that says essentially the higher your domain authority, the more likely it is that Google is going to respect your site and show it in search results. But that is definitely not the only factor that Google is going to consider.
So if that's not the only factor, which obviously is not the only factor, how do you balance thinking about time and budget when you're thinking of like, do I focus more on creating more and more content, or do I focus on buying backlinks? Because the two work together for search engine optimization, but they're so vastly different from each other.
Yeah. It does depend a bit on the industry that you're trying to go after. But if you're in B2B SaaS, that's a niche where there's a lot of content being written and a lot of links being built. It's very competitive as a result. Same with lawyers, dentists. Those three industries tend, from what I see from people who are buying links from me, those are the top three industries where links are being bought and built constantly.
Okay.
So I know for a fact that all of those folks who are buying links are also at the same time creating a lot of content on their sites. They don't leave either one to chance. And that's how you see the most results. Because if you don't, let's say you only focus on buying backlinks and you do no content creation, you're only doing half of SEO, in my opinion.
Right.
You got to do both at the same time if you want to get powerful results that, especially the more competitive your niche, all your competitors are doing it. So if you want to beat them, you have to do it to an even greater degree.
I like that. So when it comes to backlinks, how do you go about getting them? What are the different options that people have?
There's a couple of marketplaces that I really like. And so I own a bunch of news websites, and that's kind of my business model. People come to me either directly, or I have my sites listed in these marketplaces, and an agency owner or a business owner you don't have to be anybody special. Anybody can go and find these marketplaces. I'm not going to mention any by name because I don't want to play favorites, but there's a ton. And if anybody does want to know, I can give you my list of top 10 that I respect. But either way, there's a lot of them, and they all have some similarities. So I'm going to talk about what they all have in common. First thing is they let you search by topic, by domain authority, by domain rating, by traffic, and by country. Those are basically the 5 filters that all of them are going to have. And beyond that, a lot of them will let you filter for sensitive topics like gambling or adult. I personally will never publish a single link or article about any of those topics. I am morally opposed to promoting either one of those industries. But if other people are just fine with it, and that's their call. It's their website. That's what they do for work, and I have nothing against it. But I personally never let that content in my own websites. But the marketplaces are ubiquitous. They don't care who you're promoting or what it is, but the publishers that they have in their marketplace, some of them do care, aka like me. So
Yeah.
You are not going to find every sort of link that you need, because it does depend on what niche you're promoting. But once you're in a marketplace and you're searching with traffic, domain authority, domain rating, country, topic, I would always filter. If I were building a brand new site and promoting it and buying links, I would set some minimums in place.
Okay.
I would always do a minimum of domain rating of 15, a minimum domain authority of 30, a minimum amount of organic traffic of 1,000 visits a month. You can check that with Ahrefs or SEMrush, or there's plenty of third-party tools that track organic traffic. And then the country of origin of the site should match the country where you're doing business.
Hey guys, real quick, this episode is sponsored by Parison Network. Parison Network is a matchmaking service that connects businesses to marketing agencies that will actually get you results. There's over 50,000 agencies in the United States alone, and picking the right one can feel, well, pretty impossible. Parison Network simplifies the entire process by doing all of the vetting for you. From the initial agency search to interviewing and vetting the top marketing agencies to getting proposals and helping you with the discovery call, Parison Network does it all. This way, you end up partnering with a marketing agency that actually delivers outcomes, not empty promises. If you're ready to stop wasting money on marketing that just doesn't work, visit ParisonNetwork.com and get your free agency search started today. That's ParisonNetwork.com, PERISSON network.com.
If you're an international company, then obviously that doesn't matter as much. But if you're operating in the US, buy links from US sites, please. And then finally, and this is probably more important, is the topic. You want to get links from sites that are very topically relevant to you. If you're a real estate agent, buy links from real estate specific sites, etc.
Okay.
So that's my suggestion for anybody who has no idea what they're doing buying backlinks. Start there.
Okay.
There's a lot more that goes into it, because you can do keyword specific anchor text, you can do brand name anchor text, you can do naked links, you could do a bunch of different types of anchor texts, and it just depends on the phase you're at in your link building journey.
Okay, I like that. So if, let's say you're a marketing agency and you're doing backlinks for yourself, and your target audience is you work with tree service companies, would you recommend that the industry you go after be like business and marketing, or that you also get published in tree service, home services related industries as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you should definitely do both.
Okay.
Because the business crosses over into both of those categories a bit.
Okay.
If you're talking about how tree service business owners should be promoting their website, then I think that would be relevant content to have in a trade magazine about tree service businesses.
Okay.
And additionally, if you're trying to help explain to other agency owners how to niche down and do a niche service business, then talking about how to do that in a marketing or business trade magazine would also make a lot of sense.
So a lot of it is focused on you getting backlinks in the industries that your target audiences are in.
Yep.
Even because, like, I think of like as a marketing agency, it's not just I want to get in marketing publications, which helps, but also getting what are the publications that my clients are theoretically reading as well.
And that's what a lot of PR people are really good at surfacing is those trade magazines. There's just thousands of them, and they're in every niche that you can imagine. Some more than others, but that's what I would probably use a good PR person for is figure out those trade magazines. And a lot of PR firms actually specialize in certain trades or industries.
Yep.
And so if I were looking for a PR agency, that's what I would do is find somebody who specializes in my niche because they already have those industry contacts and they know how to pitch your story and get success. I would not go with just a generic, cheap, off-the-shelf version.
Oh, God, no. Yes, absolutely. So when you're thinking about buying backlinks and you're on one of the backlink broker websites, are you thinking with your domain authority 30, organic reach 1,000, with that, are you should I be buying multiple backlinks?
Yes.
Or
because
would that have like low traffic, or would I rather spend more of my money to just buy one bigger backlink?
No, I would stay away from the bigger backlink opportunities.
Okay.
Until you have a very well established foundation of lower tier ones, because that's actually what a real backlink profile is going to look like. Is just a varied, wide range of sites, types, keyword backlink types. And so the less of a footprint that you can show to Google about the variance in your backlink profile, the better.
Okay. So essentially focus more on, to some degree, quantity over quality?
Yeah, to begin with.
Okay.
Because
to begin with,
you have to balance your budget with getting results. And you can, and you will get results from going after the media or the lower tier opportunities if you think about those 5 basic criteria that I already said.
Okay.
Those are minimums that are very intentional. I've spent a lot of time figuring out which ones actually move the needle, as opposed to, not having to spend a fortune trying to acquire them. So there's a balance.
Cool. I love it. So thinking about backlinks, are there any mistakes that you see companies or agencies consistently make when it comes to building out backlinks?
Yeah, there's one.
What are your top 3?
My top 1 is definitely some of my agency clients. I don't know why they would do this, but they will pull multiple links to the same site in one article.
Okay.
I have no clue why anyone would do that, to be honest. But it doesn't help anything.
Okay.
And frankly, it doesn't make any sense. But it's a mistake, because anybody who knows how search engine crawlers work, you know that Google or whatever the crawler bot is, they're going to see that first link, and that's going to be the one that they put priority on in their crawl data.
Okay. Even
though they do know that all the other links in the content exist, they're just not going to give them much weight. So, and the second thing is not necessarily a mistake, but a lot of my agency clients just don't know the best practice when you are building out an article to get links from. So if I were to give a best practice for building the ideal link, what the content actually structurally is going to look like, the amount of content probably doesn't matter nearly as much as some people think. But if you shoot for around 600 to 700 words, it could be 500, could be 400, but hundreds of words is great. It definitely should not be more than 2,000. There was a time when people were just putting out tons of long form content. And that didn't do a whole lot for them getting it published on other people's websites. Getting it published on your own site, long form content on your own site, that can be pretty powerful. But as far as using it to get backlinks, doesn't matter. And so I would say content length, please no more than 2,000 words. The number of backlinks within a body of content, within one piece of content, you should try for about 3 to 4. That statistically is the ideal number of links to put in one article. Of course, you can do more if it requires. You could do less. You never want to just put one solitary backlink in an article, because that just looks like it was bought and sold 100%. And that's something that we all do. That's what a lot of agencies think, that's all it takes, is they just put one link in that article and it's good to go. And it just doesn't.
No, it has to look like a normal article to Google.
Yes.
So those 3 to 4 links you put in on that piece of content, can they all link back to different pages on the client site, or should they be to like HubSpot or like bigger sites?
Yeah, you want to put at least one link to what we call a citation article, something that is factually correct and proves the thesis of whatever your content is about.
Okay.
Or, like a Wikipedia article or something like that. Or a link to New York Times article or some authoritative citation source. And then you could put one real client link in there, but you could also put 1 or 2 more different clients in the same article, because if you're a niche agency and you're promoting tree service companies, most of your clients are going to be tree service businesses in different parts of the country.
Right.
So you could put multiple clients in one article, and that would serve the same purpose. You don't need to link multiple times to the same client website in one article.
Okay. Got it. That makes total sense. So that's kind of essentially how you structure your content. You buy the backlink, or once you choose a site, buy the backlink, write the content, and then publish it. Is there anything else that usually follows that, or that agencies should be doing?
Yes, they should make sure it gets indexed, because if it does not, it's useless.
Okay.
I don't care how much you paid for it. If it doesn't get indexed, Google doesn't know it's there. And
how do you ensure your article or your backlink gets indexed?
3 ways. The first is you ask the site owner or the publisher to submit your article to Google Search Console. That's always something you should ask. They may not always say yes, but you definitely should ask. And there are 2 other services that I'm not going to mention here, but they exist. That you can basically force index your links using one of these 2 services. One of them actually integrates directly into WordPress as a plugin.
Okay.
And so some publishers already have it enabled. But again, as the person buying the backlink, it is your responsibility to verify that the publisher is going to get the article indexed. Because if you don't ask that question, they're not going to try and do it.
Right. Absolutely. And why? So even when I'm doing content on my normal site, should I be submitting it? Is there a difference where's my words in English? Is there a difference of submitting an article to Google for indexing? Like, should I be submitting every blog post I write to Google, or is Google naturally continually crawling and scraping their web?
Well, Google does a lot of that crawling and scraping naturally, but if you want to make their job easier, you should have Google Search Console set up and have your website verified in there, and have your sitemap, your XML sitemap, where you publish everything. Just have that listed in your Google Search Console, and Google does a pretty decent job of picking up all those when they get published. If you do that, sometimes they don't, and so you have to submit the URL manually into Google Search Console. But
Okay.
A lot of times, if you're not publishing too frequently, like multiple times a day, let's say, then Google will definitely pick up most of your XML feed by default, as long as it's in Google Search Console.
Okay, cool. I love it. So with that, is there anything that we haven't talked about that agency owners, that business owners should know about in the process of buying backlinks and creating the content, submitting the content for SEO?
Yeah, I would say the one thing we haven't talked about is the volume of links that you're buying.
Yep. Okay.
I cannot say definitively how much is too much, but I definitely can say how few is too few.
Okay.
If you're if you're even not in a competitive niche, if you only build 10 backlinks a month, you're probably not going to see much results. Unless they're very high authority and you're spending thousands per link, then maybe. But if you want to get results, I would shoot for about 30 to 40 links a month and see where that gets you. It's not a hard and fast rule, but I would start there. And if you start to see positive results, then you could probably keep that same cadence of 30 to 40 a month. If you don't see any results, then you might need to bump it up a little bit more.
With 30, so that means 30 pieces of content that's each at least 600 words?
Yeah, on 30 different websites.
On 30 different... So you're creating a lot of content is what that amounts to.
Yes.
Is it safe to use AI to write a lot of that content?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I use AI, I use ChatGPT and Claude to write all of our content and come up with the topic ideas. And then I've got some editors that go through it and basically humanize it. And that takes way less time because they don't have to spend any time coming up with the creative stuff. ChatGPT or Claude, both are really good at creatively coming up with topics that are relevant and timely. But the human editor touch, that adds things like humor or anecdotes or stuff that humans are really good at doing.
Okay, I like it. So 30 backlinks minimum per month. And then I know it's going to depend largely on industry, but what's the minimum you see people spending per backlink?
The minimum. Well, I've $10. That's probably the lowest I've ever seen.
Okay, cool. I like it. So takeaway for CEOs, business owners, marketing agencies, everybody in between. SEO is good when you're creating content, but you also have to, or on-page content, but you also have to start working on your backlinks. The sooner, the better. Anything else you would add to that?
No. The overall strategy that's guiding all of this stuff should be done by somebody who's got a marketing background, though. Yep. I would say if the person who's driving all the marketing for your business is mainly an SEO person, then you're leaving a lot of stuff left undone, because SEO is just a slice of the marketing mix. It's not the end all be all. And I'll be the first to admit, I know hardly anything about all the other marketing disciplines that exist. You could go very deep in each one, and a lot of people do, and there's plenty of smarter people than me that do that. And I've just been lucky enough to go really, really deep into the off-page SEO side of things.
Cool. I love it. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. If people would like to connect with you further, what's the best way for them to find you?
You can text me, actually. I always give my cell phone out. It's 801-602-9873. I am on WhatsApp as well. Okay. For those of you out of the country. And just hit my site, torkmedia.com.
Awesome. I love it. For everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for joining, and we will catch you on the next episode of Humans of Growth.